This was just something going through my mind as I was actually talking to someone about a commission online for a piece of art, and I was also in the process of writing a fan fiction, mixing my OCs with what's happened after Volume 5, and hopefully finishing it before Volume 6 gets released, so whatever story goes on in Volume 6 doesn't clash with what I'm writing right now. But one thing I've come to realise with rwby, and I never actually considered how hard it is. So I'll give Miles and Kerry props. They're writing with a really, really hard concept, and that concept is aura. Aura, in my eyes, it's almost like a mistake. Like they should not have added it, because if you take any current day show that you're watching, anything from My Hero Academia, Naruto, Dragon Ball, take any of those shows where people already got abilities, just like in rwby, everyone's got their semblance, so everyone's got their unique abilities, and then they got their unique weapons that add different dynamic and fighting styles. And then you give everyone who is supposedly a fighter in the show a force field, and that force field's tied to their soul, and all of a sudden everything becomes problematic, because when the show starts, right, everything evolves around at school reducing someone's aura to 0, in which case it's automatic victory because no one wants to get hurt. So for 3 years, well, up to the end of Volume 3, and that's not years in the show, that's us as the viewer, we're led to believe, you defeat someone's force field, you win. And at this point, force fields are, as long as you have the energy there, supposedly always active. That's from the Volume 1 with Ren, and then Volume 2 I think it was Volume 1 as well. Volume 1 or 2 with Pyrrha, she's like, it's for huntsmen and huntresses, it becomes second nature. It's like if they're in combat, their aura activates whenever they're in danger. They don't have to think about it, they just do it. It's like instinct. So that raises a lot of issues. And then as retconning has gone with Miles and Kerry changing a few things here and there to make it easier for themselves to write this story, aura's changed a bit. All of a sudden now it has to be activated. It turns on and off. It's not always active, which is implying that it's no longer instinct. People actually have to think and turn it on for themselves. It's not second nature. So it's like getting rid of Ren and Pyrrha's earliest info dumps to change it so plot convenience, because now they're in the real world, people are going to die. Well, people get hurt, and imagine in the real world, it's like their aura breaks. It's like, game's not over. We've seen it with Gira, right? His aura friggin' broke, he got stabbed in, and I'm still salty over that because I still believe he should have died. If you actually look at the blade, it looks like 2 to 3 inches, and it goes into his back. He took 0 damage despite not having an aura. So, and yes, I'm cooking. Multitasking. So yeah, it becomes really problematic because you jump back to a few scenes and you start to realise aura doesn't quite work at all, really. It's like, it starts to make the characters in the show look stupid. If you jump back to the Vodal tournament, you see, who is it? Scarlet. He gets hit in the balls by a friggin' coconut, right? And they're in this tournament, they're active, they're fighting, so it would make logical sense that these people have their auras up while they're in combat with another team. And the life bar on the screen actually shows your aura. That's not his physical health, that's his aura. And he's got lots of aura. He gets hit, and whereas early on we see with Ren, like, it's a full fucking force field where he blocks the taijutsu attack from the snake, in this case, he feels all of it, despite having an aura. Despite he should have it active. So So the fact that Scarlet gets knocked out kind of like brings up the issue. It's like, was he just that dumb that he didn't activate his aura when he entered combat? Did any of them activate their aura? I mean, Flint does. Flint fucking survives hellfire getting shot in his face because of aura. But this guy can't. Like, is the coconut actually hit him in the balls, or does it bounce off the freaking force field and the scare of it alone bloody depleted his... I don't know. It's kind of weird. But then you jump forward to... trying to think which volume. All of it gets mixed up now. It's the Ilya chase scene. I think that's volume 4, is it? With Sun and Blake, they notice her in the friggin' forest and they chase after her. I don't recall. I might be wrong about this because I don't remember fucking everything. But pretty sure Blake and Sun's aura are still active. They don't break during the chase scene. And then Ilya just goes, "Papa!" and he's cut open and bleeding and near dead. Like, he needs friggin' medical attention. I'm like, what happened to Sun's aura? They're chasing after her. She's part of the White Fang. He knows the White Fang are evil. That's his point of view. It's got nothing to do with Blake at his point of view. He doesn't like the White Fang. And yeah, his aura is just fuck. And that's what I mean. It makes the characters look stupid. Because they've been going to schools, they've been getting trained. Aura's this big thing. It's like their protection. It's like, it is a friggin' force field. It's like, if you're going into combat, here's a friggin' force field, protect yourself. And then you get into combat and you don't use it. The characters that are failing to use it, like Scarlet, like Sun, they're made to look like idiots. Because they're not using their aura. But that's where the conflict comes in, because aura's just a pain in the ass to write with anyway. That's why I'm going to give props to Miles and Kerry for this. It's like, writing a story with aura is so stupid. It's so challenging. You got to take into consideration so many things, and then you want to write a decent friggin' fight scene. Regardless of how it's animated, no, I do not think Miles and Kerry should be in charge of how the fighting gets done. It's fair enough to point out some stuff here and there, but I really think the animators should just be left to do their own freaking thing, as seen with Kim and as we're seeing with the Adam trailer. It kind of works when you leave the animators alone to do their own shit. Don't storyboard that stuff. Writing a fight scene, you know, this happens, this happens, this happens. It's like cue points that you put. Have these 5 things happen in the fight scene, let the animators do what they want. But yeah, aura's a pain in the arse. And because we're going from like... because of how the plot's going, right, is like, when we're at Beacon, it's kind of, as I said, it's used to protect the students. If your aura falls, don't fuck with a student. You don't go beyond that. In the real world, it's like, well, your aura has to break, and then you fuck them up. That's where the death becomes a reality in the story. And how the story's going, because of how easily they've written it, I mean, it's predictable as shit. We're going from Beacon to Mistral or Haven. Now we're going to Atlas, then we're going to end up in Vacchio, and then we're going to end up back at Beacon. It's... that part of the story is so predictable, it's not funny. But, yeah, it's the fact that we're going in between real life and then jumping into the schools. So regardless, when we get to Atlas, there's going to be instances where we're in the so-called real world, where if like we go to the Mantle Mines, I don't know, just walking around the streets and shit, and then you get into Atlas Academy and all of a sudden, oh shit, we got to be nice in this place. And then, yeah, so it's a clash of concepts in the show, and obviously, regardless, with the villains, it should be to the death, but as we've seen, the villains have a way of keeping the heroes alive. Adam, bring Blake to me. Don't kill her. I want to bloody do it. Cinder, oh no. I want to capture Ruby. Not kill her. I want to torture her. And then she goes after Weiss and fucking John and everything. And then Salem, no. Don't kill the silver-eyed warrior that could thwart our plans. Bring her to me so I can talk to her. It's like the villains are really keeping the heroes alive in this story. I mean, no, I know your argument's going to be Pyrrha, but Pyrrha's a side fucking character. Like, she and let's face it, we all know Team Juniper is all doomed to fucking die. If they're really going to go the way that this show was envisioned, sorry about that, about the characters they're based off. Oof, Jesus, we're going to be really sad when Renora friggin' dies in each other's arms. Jean should have been the martyr, but despite the fact that he could have been a martyr multiple times already, he's Miles Lunar in personification, so he's probably going to make it to the last fucking episode. I'm not going to go into any of that. I'm just saying it's like, or is a real pain in the ass when you think about it. It's kind of like, it's one of the things that makes RWBY unique, because you need unique things in your show. But at the same time, it's like, when you take into consideration fighting styles, take into consideration weapons, you take into consideration semblances, then you're merging characters together. And this is probably why they had so much trouble in Volume 5 with the group fight scene up above. I mean, it makes sense to single the characters off in one-on-one fights, but then that defeats the whole purpose of them going to the academies. They're going to the academies to learn team-based fighting. They're in a life and death situation where they're fighting the villains. Use each other to your advantage. We saw that with Emerald and Mercury. They used their abilities together, and they kept Yang alive. I actually don't get that. I mean, I get keeping RWBY alive, but I'm like, you're the villains, this is your chance to shine. She doesn't know which one's the real Mercury. They actually had a perfect opportunity to start killing off people. And the closest we got was Weiss getting stabbed, and we all knew I think it's the overall aspect that we know none of the 4 girls are gonna fucking die. Ever. It's like, they got the biggest plot protection. They won't ever fucking die. So it kind of makes putting them in situations where they could die pointless. And then it makes the villains look bad. Which is actually the problem with a lot of shows. I actually said, I'm going to cut this off soon. Because this was only to talk about Aura. It's easier for me to do a short video like this as to writing something small in a tweet that gets misinterpreted. Because I'm actually, as you've seen, I've given credit to Miles and Carey. Like, it is hard. I've tried doing it. It's a pain in the ass when you actually think about it, writing with Aura. It's just a pain in the ass to work with. It'd be better if they deleted it from the show and just had the weapons and the semblances, but too late to do that now. And that dates back, it would defeat the whole purpose. I'm just saying, it's like, but for one reference, if you have watched My Hero Academia, my one issue with that, and you haven't seen it if you're watching the anime, I've read the manga up to date and actually pissed me off, is that, the villains are getting really underused in the story. When you think about it, it's like, because it's not a long-term, like shonen like Naruto, where they can build the villains up over years, they're doing it seasonal, so there's only about 12, 14 episodes. If a villain's having an arc, they get pretty much one season to shine, like Hero Killer Stein. And in that one season, they're built up, they have an epic fight, and they lose. It happened with All for One, who's supposed to be the king villain. It happened to Stein. It's going to happen to a villain you're about to meet called Overhaul. And yet we got Faceplant guy who's just standing in the fucking background like a retard. I'm a big fan of his design. I reckon he looks fucking awesome. He has a cool power, but he's mentally fucking retarded when it comes to actually... And I know it's a story about the hero growing and the villain growing, but I'm like, all the heroes are surviving and getting big boosts, and the villains are just getting picked off after every few episodes. So, underused villains. RWBY doesn't have that problem. They've got long-term villains. They're just not really threatening, and that's where I'm going to leave it. just let me know what you think about Laura. Like, is it a pain in the ass? Have they made mistakes? And the fact that they've reworked Aura to work differently, it has made it easier, but at the same time, it's like Ruby needs to be stopped. Like, after Volume 6, just stop Ruby and reboot it. And then have a consistency of constant rules instead of rewriting the rules over time. Just an idea.